now look to Gurcharan to close the case for the opposition tonight.
When I was invited by Oxford Union to speak at this wonderful debate, I'm afraid I gave them a headache because I said that, frankly, I'm the Indian in the middle. I'm neither a Modi lover nor a Modi hater like my distinguished friend Prashant Bhushan. So they said, but you know, that's all right. What we want is enlightenment. 18th century enlightenment. This is a university. And so here I am, the man in the middle, to offer you some thoughts without necessarily having to support or defend or win or lose a debate. My neighbor in Delhi always has the last word. He says the problem with this election is that one of them is going to win. And he says that his dilemma is that either he must vote for an idiot or he must vote for someone who believes everyone else is an idiot. But my dilemma is different. And this dilemma is the one that is shared by millions of Indians who are in the middle of the road, who are neither Modi lovers or Modi haters. I believe that Modi is our best chance for bringing prosperity to a poor country. I have been observing India for over 20 years, ever since I wrote the book India Unbound. And I feel that he really could make India into a middle-class country and eradicate poverty. On the other hand, very rightly, the case has been made that Modi is divisive, authoritarian, a Hindu nationalist, an anti-Muslim, and certainly he carries the stain of killing around 1,000 people in Gujarat, the 1,000 people were killed under his watch as chief minister in Gujarat in 2002. India has a narrow window of opportunity. And this arises from the fact that we are a uniquely young nation where half the population is below the age of 26. Now, if these people could get a job, then what economists have found is that you get a bonus, a kicker to your GDP of 2 percentage points over your high growth rate. And this is huge. And this is what the East Asian nations have harvested, and this ultimately means that you can become a middle-class nation and you can basically wipe out poverty. If these people do not get a job, then you have a demographic disaster. And this means sacrificing a whole generation of people. And so, now you must remember, we already sacrificed 2 generations between 1950 and 1990 because the only jobs we created were government jobs during the period of what we call License Permit Inspector Raj, which was the command socialism of that period. Now, I'm unwilling to sacrifice the next generation. The alternative to Modi is Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and he has no clue about this subject. Not only does he have no clue, but he's not interested. Frankly, I don't even think he's interested in becoming a prime minister. I think he's doing it to please his mummy. And an Italian mummy and an Indian mummy are the same. And so I feel that you have an incompetent person on the other side. Frankly, if I had to have dinner with somebody, I'd much rather have dinner with Rahul Gandhi than with Mr. Modi, who frightens me. But as a prime minister, you have to put your personal prejudices aside. And so I would say that apart from the fact that he has no clue, the DNA of the Congress party is not of this kind. The DNA of the Congress party is populist giveaways. And so I don't trust. And so why is Modi our best chance? Actually, despite a blunder like demonetization, which I confess was a huge blunder, but everybody can make a mistake. The overall economy, in fact, has been reasonably well managed, far better managed than the previous governments, which I have observed and written about every week in the Times of India. Inflation is down from double digits to roughly 2-3%. Fiscal deficit has been declining. Infrastructure has been improving. Corruption is down, mainly because of digitizing the interface between the citizen and the state. And this is why India rose through 30 ranks in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business. Modi has created conditions for high growth. The bankruptcy law, the GST, which has been the most revolutionary tax reform in 70 years, direct benefit transfers, which have reduced the leakage of the subsidies that we had. And when it comes to welfare, certainly my favorite, of course, is that he has given access to rural women for cooking gas, making them believe that they are as good as urban women. And it's cooking, that way we cooked the rural women was the worst form of pollution that it created in the kitchen. Then the universal insurance health scheme, I think, is terrific. And we've talked earlier that less than 40% of the people had toilets before, and now more than 80% of the people do. But there is a downside to Modi, and we know that. And the fact is, as I said, Modi is authoritarian. However, there are mitigating factors. These are the one lesson from the last 5 years is that give me another minute, that actually the Prime Minister in India is a weak figure compared to the chief ministers of the states. The action is in the states. The citizen's interface with the state is at the state level. And so even Indira Gandhi, who had the emergency, realized this. Secondly, the fact is that India has always been a weak state and a strong society, unlike China, which has been a strong state and a weak society. And that's why the history of India was a history of competing kingdoms, whereas the history of China was a history of empires. And even the four empires of India, the Mughal, the British, the Mughal, the Gupta, and the Maurya, were weaker than the weakest Chinese empire. And so oppression in India came not from the state. Historically, it came from society, from the Brahmins, etc. So in 1947, India could only have been a democracy. We are a disobedient people. So the issue in India is not the danger of authoritarianism. The issue in India is the opposite, of state capacity. And it's not an issue of accountability. And finally, the second downside of Modi is Hindu nationalism. Now, I dislike this Hindutva business, but I tell you, it is pushing water uphill. Hindu nationalism, Hindutva, goes against the skeptical, plural temper of Hinduism and attempts to Semiticize Hinduism by these people are doomed. We have 330 million gods, and no god can afford to feel jealous. So the second point is that some of the senior leaders of the RSS have also realized that the threat to India is not from Pakistan or from China. It is from within. And we should be very proud of the fact that out of 180 million Muslims, less than 100 went to fight for ISIS. Britain sent more, France sent more. And so I say that these people also realize now that, frankly, we should be proud of the fact that we have the most moderate Muslim population in the world. So, in conclusion, sir, I would say that I would have preferred a secular, less statist Modi, or I would have voted for a more competent Rahul Gandhi, hungry for reform. But this is utopian. When we go to the ballot box and we cast our vote, we take a risk. And we always hope that it would be a calculated risk. So the calculated risk today, if you are all voting in this election, you would vote for Mr. Modi.